Siddharth, for joining in. Tell me, we were discussing also on the panel that there is technology coming in and we are seeing its intervention in the classrooms today. We see the pros, we see the cons, but tell me, how are you reading these developments? There are opinions of tons of opinions that talks about it is impacting badly the cognitive abilities of students. It is shaping up their learning abilities in a different manner altogether. And there are pros that it is helping in objectivity, it is helping in data accumulation, and so on and so forth. How are you reading these developments, and what is your opinion on this?
Thank you. So I see this very positively and with a lot of possibilities because technology has the power to really personalize learning and democratize high quality learning, which is not that does not exist in India, especially in the smaller towns where there's a dearth of high quality teachers, and technology has that power to take that to the smaller towns. There's also personalization that is possible because as a teacher, if I know that okay, these 5 children in my class are doing well, but a lot of times I fail to give them higher order things because of a lack of time. And if technology can aid that, it becomes so much more. And in my class of 40, I can run 40 different classrooms because technology allows for that and aids that learning happen. And then the teacher can become a facilitator to support that children are motivated enough, they have the right skills and know-how of how to use the technology, and the teacher also gets so much data of how the children are learning. Right now, if you go to a lot of classrooms in India, I am talking about the larger size, there's a lecture that's happening, but at the end of the lecture, do you really get to know how many children have learned? Not really, because when you ask a question, probably the class is answering all together, right? And maybe one person is answering, everybody is copying him, right? So technology really breaks that down because every child now has to put in his own answer. When every child puts his own answer, then I as a teacher understand ki whatever I taught, how did the child perceive it? How much of teaching converted to understanding? Because today without technology, it's very difficult to do it at a mass scale and to do it with consistency, because the only way to do it is through notebook work and through checking, right? So I think that is where I see.
Now I understand, and you would also agree, India is a land of one of the largest population in K-12, and it's a vast canvas. We might be easily imagining a smart classroom in Delhi, but we cannot imagine that a similar classroom in, let's say, a city in Jharkhand, or let's say in Bhopal, in Madhya Pradesh, somewhere in Madhya. So my question here is, while we understand that technology is an enabler in democratizing education, is India really ready to see that revolution? When we consider the deeper regions of India, are we seeing that change happening at that level as well?
So I'm a positive person. I try and look at positives. So I think we're taking early steps. There's a lot of work that needs to be put out. There's a lot of capacity building, like I also talked about in the panel. There's a lot of capacity building, a lot of teacher training needed for this to really happen. And there's a lot of investment also needed in terms of laptops, computers at the school level, in terms of network infrastructure and all of that, so technology to really fly into the education space. And we are seeing early movements. We are also seeing a lot of government bodies adopting, showing early signs of adaptation. We are seeing some independent small islands using it very well. Some good private schools like ours using technology very well. So yeah, I think there are good positive signs, but definitely a long way to go.
Also, I agree with you that we're taking early steps and we are still in the age of exploration, what's working, what's not working. Now, when we talk about what's not working, we do see a huge scope of work there, right? What is needed, what can be some of these strategies that can help this accelerate. Now, we also see a great documentation called NEP for taking education system to the next phase of growth. This is clearly and certainly a very pro document. But what about its implementation, and what other areas of work is in the limelight according to you, for government especially?
So I see the NEP is a very positive document, and the government also tried to bring the national curriculum framework, which is like an implementation guide to some extent for the NEP. While the NCF really gives a roadmap that the direction to move, but I think there still needs to be a lot of work put out to how to really transfer that into the classroom in that 40 minutes. And to a scale as big as India as a country. So while a lot of work is happening in some pockets, islands, some amazing work is happening, NEP is probably implemented in some, in larger context in some islands, but largely there's a lot of work, and I think for that again, teacher development, also school leadership development. I work very closely in that space of school leadership, and I work with a lot of school leaders across India, train them, work with them. In India today, there's a big lack of, there's no institute in India that trains for school principals, right? How do you select a principal? A good teacher in a good school, with so many schools mushrooming, a good teacher in a good school becomes a principal, but these are two different skill sets altogether.
Good one. Now, just the final question to you. In K-12, I mean, we understand that with technology, the pace of change is crazy right now. In next 3 years, or let's say, I mean, I'm a little considerate, let's say 5 years, will we be able to see that change, recognizable change, and what will it be?
So bodies like CBSE are definitely taking a lot of progressive steps, which is visible. But I think a lot of small pilots need to be done by government institutes. Like a lot of AI can actually democratize education. Is CBSE willing to test out? I think those are some questions. If they get answered, that is when we'll figure out how fast India can really adopt to this. I'm really, amazed with the work the current CBSE chairman is doing, because I see that there's a lot of movement around, things in CBSE. So I'm very hopeful of how things are, since CBSE is the largest board of the country and every other board really follows what CBSE is doing. So I'm really hopeful, and fingers crossed.
I'm also looking forward to that change. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for your inputs.